That's the sound of power washers, because this is PowerWash Simulator BARF for Respawn Aim Fire, the Kick-Ass Forever Gaming Podcast, brought to you by Square Enix's game PowerWash Simulator. Not actually sponsored by, but we played it. Hey folks, welcome everyone. I'm one of your hosts, Chad Michael Spray That Booty Innes. We've got over here our regular host with us, Adam. Spray what part of the body for you, Gumbert?
Spray down your ankles and your shins, because that's the part that gets the most ashy, you know?
Okay. The word choice that you chose there fit really, really well into the Yakety Yak song. Spray down your ankles and your shins. Bow, 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 bow.
Hey, don't go back.
Our other host joining us here is Cozy. What part of the body are you spraying, Cozina?
Do the impossible. See the invisible. Row, row, fight the power wash. Row, row, fight the power wash. We're here to talk about power wash. Oh boy, I am just so incredibly excited to talk about this game that honestly kind of put me to sleep multiple times of the week while I was playing it, but that I still think is, all things considered, a pretty decent addictive game. I'm excited.
Unrelated, but kind of related to you. Today, someone texted me like, hey, wishing us both a bunch of luck in good news and work-related matters. And I responded, I wanted to say, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. But then I was like, let me see if there's a GIF for it. But then I just typed in Lord willing in the GIF, and it was just a bunch of Bible quotes. And so I just sent a Bible verse. And then I was like, what if I become that person now? And like, that's my shtick, is I send Bible verse gifts to everything instead.
I mean, you're almost the right age for it. We're getting
that's
close.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, that was Cozy. The way you started your introduction just made me recall that from happening 3 hours ago.
Do the impossible. See the invisible.
We're talking today about our backlog accomplishment with Respawn and Fire game. That means you all chose over on patreon.com/Respawn Aim Fire one game that you would like for us to play from a selection of 4 for the month of September, as a thing that we either haven't played before, or that it's been a long time, or it's a classic that we should really have more knowledge on. Excuse me, whatever it might be. You all voted for a tie. I don't remember what the 2 games were, but the category was cozy games, not Alex Cozina games, but cozy fall games for the month of September.
COZY.
Cozetti. We played PowerWash Simulator because Dave, on our last BARF episode, decided that's the one. He was a tiebreaker live on the podcast. So we played PowerWash Simulator. PowerWash Simulator, here's our usual Wikipedia entry here. PowerWash Simulator is a 2022 simulation video game. It surprised me right off the bat, because I could have sworn this game has been around a lot longer than that. But it came out in 2022, first made available in early access on Steam on May 19th, 2021. It's a game that came out first on Windows platforms and Xbox platforms on July 14th, 2022. Came to Switch, PS4, and PS5 January 31st, 2023. And came to, this will become a trend, or another thing that we see later in this episode, came to only MetaQuest 2, 3, and Pro for VR platforms on November 2nd, 2023. Did not come to PlayStation fucking VR. This game is a simulation game where you are a person just cleaning shit up. You're just going to vans, porches, robots, homes, and you are just holding a power washer, a pressure washer, whatever you want to call it, depending on your region, and you are just cleaning shit. There is apparently some kind of story to it, but you can follow along with the little messages that keep popping up on the side as you complete certain amounts of things. Generally, this game got generally favorable reviews, as they quote on Wikipedia. For
generally
Metacritic,
favorable.
But the Windows version received mixed or average reviews. So they all kind of range in the mid-70s for Metacritic scores, with the Nintendo Switch version surprisingly being at an 84, far and away the highest of all the platforms.
That's because your PC gets all broken down when you try to power wash it. The Nintendo Switch, good as day, clean as mud whenever you try to wash it.
IPX rating on that Nintendo Switch, very good comparatively. Something to note, this game is from Future Lab, which is it's a developer, and it's published by Square Enix Collective. The director of this game, can you guess their name? You're probably looking at the Wikipedia already, but can you guess the director's name? I'll give you a clue. They are not
I'm looking at the
Cyclops from
Wikipedia, so I
X-Men.
want to answer it. Yeah.
Dinosaur.
It is James Marsden, not the actor, but another guy named James Marsden. The VR port of this, by the way. Oh, did Adam just disappear for you? Yeah.
Whoopsie daisy.
Yeah,
he disappeared on the stream, and he's back.
Just Chad was like 3 seconds ahead or behind and then disappeared. I don't know. So I just reloaded myself.
Adam,
I don't know what's going on.
Adam, that's very irresponsible of you. We were talking about James Marsden, the Cyclops himself.
I responded.
We were not
Cozy. I already responded to this.
About Nightcrawler.
I already
we were
responded
not
to
talking
this.
about the
This is why I
X-Men's
reset it.
teleporter. We were talking about their eye
to
beamer.
this joke. I've already responded to this in the past.
This is just
saying,
like that,
no
that psychic Pokemon move where, like, in 20 minutes, we're randomly just going to hear Adam say, I'm looking at the Wikipedia and I already know who it is. It's not Cyclops.
Yeah, I said this at some point.
It's going to show up. Future Sight is the name of that. Future Lab is the developer. Future Lab had a VR division which worked on the MetaQuest versions of it, but they made an announcement saying, hey, we're discontinuing support for the VR version. We're not making a VR version of PowerWash Simulator 2 because too many resources and job security. So we took those developers and we repurposed them in other places. PowerWash Simulator 2 coming out later this fall. Is it has a release date, right? I just got a release date.
They have gone gold. They've gone gold, and they're going to tell us the release date very soon. So as we're recording, we don't know, but the real people in real life might know by now.
Yeah, they're actually beaming PowerWash Simulator 2 directly into your brain. It already has existed there since eternity, and now they're just making it apparent within the confines of your mind.
Speaking of beaming it into your brain, let's talk about how we played this game. I was real excited. I've moved into my home now 2 months and a week ago, 9 weeks ago, and I dug out my PSVR 2, got my little controllers, literally dusted them off, plugged it into the PlayStation, opened this game up, and then it was just in a window, and it said, you need to connect a controller. And I said, bitch, I got 2 controllers, one in each hand. And it said, nope. And then I went searching on the thing. I was like, maybe I have to download a VR version of this thing like I did for Resident Evil. And then it said, I don't know who told you the PSVR exists for this one, but you're barking up the wrong tree, bruh. And then I promptly took the VR off and played with the DualSense instead. So that's how I played on my PlayStation 5 with the DualSense Edge controller. Cozy, how did you consume this game?
I just gargled that water just real long, real hard down the gullet. On my PlayStation 5 with my PS5 DualSense controller. I was not particularly creative in the way that I consumed this game, unfortunately.
Adam, how did you consume this game?
I consumed it on the Xbox with an Xbox controller.
Dope. I'm going to start with my impressions, and then we'll let you all kind of chime in with yours too. But I'm assuming this is going to be a very short a BARF episode, not our shortest because we've already surpassed that by I think triple the length of our shortest episode. But I'm going to start by telling you the entire reason this was on even consideration for BARF this month was because I thought it was VR. And so I already went into this game a little grumpy Gus, and I was just like, well, let me play this fucking stupid game in a 2D flat screen with a stupid regular controller. And I booted it up, and I get in front of this van, and the controls were like, whoa, this is terrible. Joel, by the way, Joel's dead. Joel died. He got motion sickness from playing this game. He literally told us
he couldn't handle the power of PowerWash Simulator.
Right.
It overloaded his
baby
senses.
Wash Simulator. He's just washing babies. So he got motion sick, and I knew that going into it while I was about to play it. And I was just like, oh, God, yeah, the controls, the way that I'm moving, and you're constantly moving up and down, left and right on the screen. It's like, yeah, this is going to make me a little bit sick. And then I went into the control settings, tweaked it, turned on motion controls as well with the DualSense. That helped out a little bit. Turned the sensitivity way down. And then I told myself, I'm going to play 1, maybe 2 levels of this thing just so that I can say that I played it. And then that's it. 3 hours later, having played... Well, I just constantly, one after another, just like, maybe I'll just go watch that other one thing over here. And that got done. I was like, There's a small one over there. I'll just go watch that other one thing. And I did that. And then I finally like completed a giant level. And I was like, well, I got to go play the Final Fantasy stuff. And then I like did a couple of things in the Final Fantasy one. And then that level was done. And then there's another level.
How much money did you drop on the DLC for this game?
I dropped $0.
Zero?
Yeah. And this was published by Square Enix. And so the Square Enix content was free.
Really?
Yeah.
It wasn't free for me.
Tomb Raider and Final Fantasy were free.
Yeah. Maybe
other
it's possible
like Shrek and SpongeBob did cost money.
It's possible that I clicked into some of the other ones and I saw that those were paid. And so it didn't occur to me that if I clicked in on the other ones that those would be free.
Yes.
You guys know better.
There are a lot of generic like holiday, like you could download a Halloween theme one. You could
Merry
download
Christmas.
Like 2 different years worth of Christmas ones. But yeah, Back to the Future cost money. Shrek cost money. SpongeBob cost money. But the Square Enix ones were just advertisements. So yes, I ended up playing this for about 3 hours. And like Cozy, it was such a cozy experience for me, just like Coffee Talk, that I fell asleep a couple of times playing it. And so yeah, I had a generally pretty good time with this game. We'll get into more specifics in just a moment. But I want to hear Adam, tell me a little bit about your time with this game.
I had a pretty good time. I'd played this game back closer when it came out for a couple hours. I didn't get super far into it. Maybe I got to the shoe, whatever level that is, when you have to clean that big shoe off.
Did you clean the soul last?
Well, no, when I started this time, I was at the shoe, and I was like, oh, cool. But no, you don't clean the soul last. You start at the bottom, and you work your way up.
Here's the thing. I am not the trophy collector that I used to be, but I did go into the trophy list just to see what kind of trophies I had ahead of me. And there are a few trophies here and there that are like, yeah, on this particular level, clean everything but this thing, or clean this thing first and clean everything else. On the shoe level, it was clean everything else except the sole of the shoe last. And the name of the trophy is Soul Task, because it's your only task remaining at the end.
That's creative. Yeah, I didn't look because I don't care about that stuff, but that is pretty cool. So I started up again at that shoe level. Again, it's a couple levels in. And then for the month of September, I played, 20 plus hours of this video game.
Whoa.
And I am on the last level of the campaign, and then I messed with some of the DLC. I had a fucking blast. With this game. It is absolutely like, let me just dick around and put on a podcast. Let me listen to 20 hours of podcast while I play this video game. But I was super into it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is good. And then 2's coming out. I'm like, ooh, guess who's going to buy 2? Day 1, this guy right here. So no, I fucking adore this game.
Love it. Cozy, tell me just a little bit about your time with this game.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. Power wash of the peeps, power wash of the dreams, still piece me scattering, so incomplete. So here's, to give a little bit of context for people that don't know what the fuck I'm doing. There was an anime back in the day from Studio Trigger called Gurren Lagann. And one of the main songs from that anime was called Libera Me from Hell. And they have this thing where they're like, row, row, fight the power. Power is a big motif in the song, depending on how you pronounce it, depending on how fast you're speaking and how quickly the neurons are firing in your brain to inform you that you're pronouncing things correctly.
Cozy did tell me before this, I had a bunch of chicken and some beer. So.
Yeah. And I only half the thing of beer, so I'm not actually that drunk. Anyway, so I was taking lyrics from the song and replacing, every time it would say power, I would replace it with power wash. Problem is that you can clearly tell that the song was like, it's like one of those instances where it's an English language song written by someone who is like a native Japanese speaker. And so things don't really flow fully grammatically. And so it's easy to kind of get tripped up reading it. All right, let's get back to the Power Wash Simulator. So, while I was playing this game, I went into one of my secret Discords and I was having a chat with one of the friends there. And they were like, oh man, Power Wash Simulator, that's a great podcast game. And like, you know, I have my fair share of podcast games. You know, my podcast games are things like Hades, for example, which we'll be talking about on the standard episode of Respawning Fire in just a little bit. Hint, hint, hint. Games like Balatro, Mario Kart 8 World, even things like Cookie Clicker. And like, I never feel guilty playing any of those games because usually there's just enough of a level of interactivity associated with those experiences that I feel like I'm always doing something fulfilling, even if it is still mindless enough to play while listening to a podcast. This game was kind of my breaking point where, like, here's the thing. This game is a well-crafted simulation game about cleansing things with incredibly powerful and sophisticated power washing tools. I don't know if they're actually sophisticated, but they are powerful. But it's a little bit too mindless, and it just takes a little bit too long to clean everything that I wasn't able to kind of get past the guilt that I had playing it, that I was wasting my time. And that sounds harsh, and I don't mean this with any, like, I don't mean that comment to come across as me being disparaging to anyone that enjoys this game, because clearly a lot of people really love PowerWash Simulator and are really looking forward to what PowerWash Simulator 2 is going to have to offer. But like, as much as I enjoy playing this game, I felt a little too guilty to really want to fully commit to seeing this game all the way to the end, just because the more and more I played of it, the more and more I was like, I feel like I can be spending my time better doing other things, playing other games in my repertoire. But overall, a decent game for what it is.
All right. I like the thing Joel did last time, where he's like, we're going to pick numbers and those correspond to different aspects of the review. So I've got 3 numbers here. The numbers are 69, 420, and 69.2. So
the sequel to 69.
The sequel to 69. Adam, pick a number.
69.2. The sequel's always better.
69.2 is presentation. Talk a little bit about this game's presentation. What worked for you? What didn't work for you? Etc.
I mean, it's nothing crazy. There's not like ray traced reflections or anything. It's a simple enough art style. So I do like what they give you to do when it's like, okay, here's a private jet that's actually secretly like a time machine. It's like, clean this shit off. And it's like, oh, that's fun. That's silly. Or clean off the fucking, where the longhouse the Vikings hang out in. It's like, all right, you're giving me weird, cool stuff to do, which is always fun. Or even when they give you that big wheeled bicycle to clean, I'm just like, all right, dude, give me my $50 to clean this stupid bicycle off. And that's fun. So the things they give you in the areas are, fun and inventive. But it looks fine. I mean, it looks like a game that could run on the Switch One, which it does.
I appreciated the iPad that you use as your UI to kind of navigate through the available levels. And one thing I appreciated about this game is that the game, obviously things work a little bit differently with some of the like extra challenges and whatnot. But in terms of the kind of main campaign levels, the game doesn't reset your progress if you decide to opt out of them midway through. So you can complete like 41% of a certain level, and then you can jump into another level and complete 21% of that level, and then go back and forth, which I really appreciated, because eventually, like I said, game could get a little boring at times, and I appreciated being able to jump between levels depending on what suited my fancy in the moment.
I did like that aspect of it. The UI in general, like you mentioned, the like iPad type UI and that kind of stuff, I did find that it was very PC, like designed for mouse and keyboard kind of thing. Like if I wanted to scroll through a list of 50 things that I had to clean in this backyard, maybe there was a way to do it, but I couldn't figure it out. But I had to like move my cursor over to the little scroll bar and click and drag the tiny scroll bar, which was hard to like just like navigate to anyway, and then drag that down.
You could use the other stick. The other stick will scroll. If your left stick moves your cursor, the other stick will scroll up and down.
Well, son of a butt.
Yeah.
Well,
son of a butt.
But it's still definitely a PC. You could tell it's a PC UI for sure. Absolutely.
The other thing about the PC, like, I guess this kind of is a little bit into controls, but yeah, I just felt like it wasn't suited well for controllers. I felt like I would have had a much easier time on this if I had a mouse to be able to like precision click on things and swipe it back and forth in order to clean things, rather than a controller joystick. I think it would have worked a little bit better, but I think generally it looks pretty great. It was the different types of dirt and shit that you have that you can spray off, like rust versus like, I don't know, weird shit that metal gets on it that's not rust, but the other shit. And then there's dirt, and then there's like, all sorts of other types. Like that felt really satisfying to like clean off one layer of it and then see something else underneath it. I have to linger on a little bit more or switch to a different nozzle to clean off. And
or buy the $3,000 power washer to get it all off in one go.
Or just spend that money, baby.
To that point, there definitely are some fun moments where you wash off the like initial like layer of dirt or grime on whatever it is that you're cleaning, and then underneath it is some much older piece of graffiti that, you know, conveys a little bit of environmental storytelling about whatever it is that you're cleaning. There was I believe it was, I forget what it was, but there was like a house in the woods that you already know from the description of this particular job is a little bit weird. The people living there are a little bit skeevy, and you can unveil some graffiti suggesting that some illicit stuff might have went down in the cottage, which I appreciated. Thought that was clever.
The only part of the presentation that didn't, I don't either it didn't work for me or maybe it like worked perfectly and I just didn't do the right thing that Adam did, where just listen to podcasts, but just like the audio of this game. Like there's literally no soundtrack, there's no music, it's just the sound of spraying water that slightly changes based on the degree that you have on your nozzle and the type of tool that you're using, and you're just holding that trigger down, so it's just hours and hours just, and that's it.
This game, I don't know if you know this, Chad, they didn't really talk about this on the Wikipedia page for this game, but this game was actually a companion piece to Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water. It was originally called The Sound of Water, and the whole point of the game is you were supposed to appreciate the sound of the water spraying because nothing else is as good as the sound of water.
Perhaps.
There was the sound of that fish fucking that girl. Did you hear that in level 7?
That's
what happens in that movie.
What level
everybody.
is that?
It's the aquarium level.
Secret government aquarium level.
All right, Cozy. 69 or 420?
Let's vary it up. Let's go 420.
All right. This one I've already spoiled a little bit, but it's controls. Tell me about the controls, what you did, how you worked through it, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, I think that the controls for the most part on console are fine. One thing I did not like is that whenever you aim the camera straight down and try to move around, for whatever reason, you're like weirdly, like incredibly slow. I'm assuming you probably experienced that as well because you had the exact same sort of situation as me. I don't know, Adam, is that something that I could have, because it seems like you're the power wash simulator of the group here. Is that something we could have adjusted in the controller settings for this game?
Adjust what?
When you aim directly down to clean something at your feet, it's incredibly slow to move around.
I don't know. There might be. I know depending on the length of the nozzle kind of changes how quickly you can look at things. Because it like moves it up. Like you can't, if you have a long nozzle, you can't point directly at your feet. But I just went in and adjusted movement, stick speed or whatever, like you do in FPSs and stuff. So it does go a little bit slower. I think that's just to help you out. But yeah, it does not randomly. It changes up speed, in specific times. But yeah, I don't know if you can change it. I didn't really mess with it that much.
Yeah. Other than that, I thought the controls were totally fine and functional. I definitely made a point of kind of exploring what options were available to me. And once I discovered, if you click this button on the D-pad, it will just automatically leave the nozzle on until you turn it off. I was like, perfect. I'm just going to leave that on and do my business without having to constantly, hold down the trigger button.
I will say to Joel's point where Joel got motion sickness, I can definitely see where he would get motion sick in this game, just because it's, again, I think it controls fine. Obviously, I think a mouse and keyboard would make much more sense. But I don't like the thing where it's like, okay, if you stand in one spot, you press up on the D-pad and then it moves independently. Your cursor becomes like free aim instead of, just where you're looking at. And I think that's the conceit to like get you the mouse precision. But no, there's definitely times where you're like walking backwards and staring straight up at the ceiling, like getting a ceiling clean. It's like, oh yeah, I could definitely see getting sick on this one. So I feel like, I mean, with a controller, what else are you going to do? Like that's what you have. But yeah, no, again, I think it works fine enough. But if you're super sensitive, yeah, I could see that messing with you. I could see why Chad wouldn't try it on VR, because you're just looking at it in real life. It probably feels really good in VR.
Yeah, I imagine.
So
maybe Joel should try that because it's on that fucking MetaQuest.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, I turned on motion controls, which felt really good for some parts of it. You're just holding the DualSense and tilting it, up and down or side to side or something like that. And it felt really good for some parts, like up and down movements felt a lot more natural and things like. And of course, I had to adjust the sensitivity of it because you turn on motion controls and then immediately it's lit like a small little tilt upwards and you're looking at the ceiling, and so you had to definitely adjust the sensitivity of it. But I did find myself most often like, all right, I'm covering a large area rather than swinging side to side or something like that. I'll use motion controls to kind of like keep myself on the same plane and then just use the thumbstick to walk side to side and clean things off in one big sweep.
Yeah. There definitely comes a time whenever it's just like, okay, I have the most powerful power washer, so everything gets off in one go. And I have the super long nozzle, so I can basically stand back like 30 feet and it just gets the entire side of a building in one go. So at that point, you're not really having to worry about getting up close and going back and forth, because it's like, oh, my expensive thing just gets it done in one time, and I'm good.
Let's move into number 3. Number 69.1. Yeah. 69.1. Gameplay. This is the part where I zenned out like you were supposed to. Like, it played this cozy game, got a little bit of sleepy sleep while I played a little bit of it too. And I found that worked generally until you got to like 90% complete on a level.
Yeah.
And that's when it started to drive me fucking crazy, because there were, especially if you have something like the last level that I did was the giant scorpion machine from Final Fantasy VII. And there are so many tiny mechanical parts on that thing, and you can control, like, make the arm go up so you can clean certain parts of it, and you can like get on a giant staircase behind it. And there are so many tiny parts on that have like and there's a button that you can use to reveal dirt wherever that might be. But first of all, the dirt, it flashes orange, which already kind of blends into some of these parts. But then, yeah, if it's in an area that you can't quite reach, or if it's like hidden from view and you got to be hitting that button. And of course, it tells you in the iPad menu, oh, it's on this piece, still needs some cleaning, but it's called like, shoulder hood, whatever. And you have no idea what the hell that is. Also, so that's where I went from cozy to like, I'm frustrated and gonna rage quit.
Hey, Cozy, before you go, I got one. I had a write-in for a review. But also, I will say, you can either look at your menu, your iPad, to see like what's left, or also if you're aiming at a particular piece, it'll show you like how much of the bar needs to be emptied. But again, also, there are certain things, like there's the carousel when it goes up and down. It's like, that one's a pain in the ass, because you have to have it go up or down to get the top or the bottom. But anyways, Mass Keaton, who we see sometimes in chat. Thank you, Mass Keaton.
Hello, Mass Keaton.
The first 80% of a level is really satisfying. The next 15 is all right. The last 5% is incredibly frustrating. Thank you. And that's sort of playing to what Chad says, where like, when you have to, if you're not going through compartmentalizing, you're like, I'm doing this section 100%. If you miss a little part, trying to go back and find it can be like, where am I supposed to be at?
So the thing about this game is, like, to some extent, I think we all kind of have to be a little muted in our criticisms, because it is called Power Wash Simulator. This is a game that leans more in the realm of realism than it does in the realm of, gaminess. It's supposed to realistically depict how it is to, power wash in real life, to simulate the actual act of power washing. With that said, where I kind of take issue is that the game does give you these gamey elements. Like, for example, as Adam was describing, the ability to see all the dirt briefly kind of glow in front of you that you haven't yet cleaned. The ability to go into your iPad and see a checklist of all the things that you haven't fully cleaned, see their individual percentage levels. And like, if I could make a suggestion for like how I would improve this, it would be like, make it so that those like gamified elements are like less strong at first and then become stronger over time. Make it so that when you first start cleaning whatever it is that you're cleaning, whenever you press the button that makes all the dirt glow, like, it should glow relatively faintly, because at that point in time, you don't really need access to that particular feature. You can see clear as day where all the dirt is, but then as you progress through the level, as you complete more and more of the dirt, the glow functionality should become more powerful to the point where you get to the end of the level and like whenever you hit that particular button, the dirt should be glowing like the surface of the sun. It should be incredibly powerful once you get to that one final 1% to notify you, hey, here's where the dirt is left. Here's where you got to go if you got to complete this job. Likewise for, listing the stuff inside the iPad, again, they could definitely be a little bit more descriptive with some of those descriptions of here is the exact location of this particular struct or signpost or what have you, all these like generic things that inevitably you're going to get hung up on when you get to the final 99%. That again, they could start out more generic and, lean into becoming more detailed over time as you can complete more of a level. I know people don't like it when people armchair quarterback offer up game design tips on these sorts of podcasts, but those small little changes I think would have gone a long way towards making the end games of each levels much more satisfying for me personally.
Same. Anyone play co-op in this thing? It does support co-op on Xbox and Windows platforms, or co-op between like that PlayStation can play with PlayStation, etc.
No, I didn't. I wanted to, though. They would say it seems like a good time to dick around with your friends or whatever. This was quote unquote friend slot before it was popular, for sure.
What big selling point of number 2 from that trailer? What was that, in the State of Play or a Direct or something like Nintendo Direct maybe? Was it has 4-player co-op in it, which seems like it'll be a fun time. All right, anything left to say about? Cozy, you want to do the voice actor trivia?
No voice actors of note. Did we talk about the fact that this game is secretly, subtly rather British? There are a lot of little British moments as I was playing this game.
From a British developer.
It is entirely British, yeah.
Yeah, the garbage cans are just called bins. I'm like, this is odd. This is not how we're used to the way that things are.
Well, yeah, you live in Muckington. It's like a play on Buckington.
Only other thing I wanted to say. Only other thing, I mean, it is category 69-1. Only other thing I wanted to comment on is we talked a little bit at the top about the DLC content. I will say, I did not play the DLC content myself because I was mistaken in believing that all of it was paywalled. However, I do appreciate that in an era in which like crossover content nowadays is so often just characters crossing over into other games and fighting each other to death. I appreciated that this game understands that like oftentimes the locations in our favorite movies and games and IP are just as memorable, just as much of a character as the, characters themselves. And I appreciate that the game pays tribute to that, but with the twist of these locations being filthy, which is fun because it, of course, forces you to naturally consider and wonder, how did these locations get so dirty to begin with? See, I appreciate this game, doing, the kind of crossover collaboration game that so many other games have engaged in nowadays, but doing it in a way that feels distinctly different, but still meaningful in its own right.
Dope. So I know, Adam, you're sounds like you're going to get PowerWash Simulator 2. Cozy, you're going to pick that up coming out soon?
No. Here's the thing. I know it was pretty harsh on the game at the top of the podcast. I can totally see myself going back to this game at some point because there's going to be some evening where I'm just so completely brain dead and I'm like, I just want to completely turn my brain off. And something like Hades 2, while fantastic, is a little, you got to think when playing Hades 2 a little hard. And so a game like this will definitely have its nights where it beckons me like a siren emerging out of the sea. The sea's full of water, just like this game. So, I can definitely see myself coming back to this game. Don't think I'll pick up PowerWash Simulator 2.
I am the same. I'll probably, the next thing that I have in the Final Fantasy DLC is Seventh Heaven, the bar from Final Fantasy. So, there might be a time where I was like, let me go and, spray down a pinball machine or something like that, or Tifa's boobies or something like that for a good hour.
Tifa?
And, it's Tifa's bar. And everybody knows... Tifa equals boobies.
So you're saying that Tifa's just a piece of furniture in her bar. She's just an inanimate object.
Dirty titties that need to be sprayed.
You're saying that Tifa is an inanimate object without any autonomy that deserves to get sprayed down like all the other objects in the bar. That's what you're saying, Chad. That's
I'm
what you're
saying she's
saying.
a free, independent woman who is allowed to do whatever she likes, even if that
She is
includes
a fictional
getting sprayed.
character made up of polygons and like.
That's true. That's
also
very
not
few
real.
It's a lot of
polygons in the
polygons.
original. So yeah, I won't be getting PowerWash Simulator 2 probably at launch unless everybody in the world gets it and everyone's cleaning houses together, whatever. But yeah, I might dip back into that DLC on a whim. Speaking of other games, we have another BARF game for the month of October that you all chose over at patreon.com/respawn aim fire for us to play. You love ties. Everybody here loves ties. Not bow ties, not cravats, but like two things winning together. And this is not an environment.
From Digimon Adventure.
Not Tai, T-A-I from Digimon Adventure with the little goggles on his head. I always wanted to wear goggles on my head because I thought he looked so cool.
Hey Digimon, champions
but
of the digital world.
You all love making two things win at the same time together. And you tied between Dredge and what was the other one?
Gotham Knights.
And we chose based on how long to beat that we were playing Dredge for the month of October as our backlog for the Respawn and Friends game. This is a little indie game where you're doing some fishing, maybe at nighttime. Maybe there's some spooky. I don't know. I've only ever seen the key art and the crossover commercials with like Dave the Diver and Godzilla.
I was going to say, I played the crossover Dredge DLC and Dave the Diver, and I am definitely excited to see how this game shakes out after playing that particular DLC. Because that DLC, I won't share any thoughts on Dredge right now, but the DLC in Dave the Diver, surprisingly elaborate. I enjoyed it very much.
All right.
So this is going to be fun.
That's what we're playing next. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you are on Twitch, stick around. Come back in just a few minutes. We'll be back with Respawn Aim Fire episode 409. Giddy up 409. If you're not on Twitch, if you're watching us, oh shit, yeah. By the way, you can catch us weekly on demand Wednesday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And we're streaming on Twitch on Sundays or Mondays now. Just kidding, it's Mondays now. Blah blah blah. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.